People supporting Kamala Harris have come up with a unique way of raising money for their presidential hopeful via Zoom. In the past week, fundraising groups have been popping up left and right to show their support for the shiny new candidate. Groups like Black Men for Kamala, Black Women for Kamala, White Dudes for Kamala, Karens for Kamala. These groups have raised an impressive amount of money in a short amount of time, but I can't help but feel that the Harris campaign is still missing some intersectional points. There are so many more marginalized groups that need catering to. What about the colorblind for Kamala? How about furries for Harris? Maybe a group for women with a slight limp, or possibly a Zoom call for the indigenous pygmy midgets with melanoma? Haven't these groups suffered enough? I'm sure that Kamala didn't mean to leave them off her outreach list, because if there's one thing I know about the Democratic Party, it's that it's surely not going to miss an opportunity to pander. Certainly not with Kamala Harris at the helm. I'm Tyler Chrestman. Welcome to the Chrestman Conversation. Okay. Hello, everyone. So today on the podcast, from the intro, we're going to talk about a couple different things. I really want to go over this group, this White Dudes for Kamala event that happened via Zoom, because it's hilarious and we definitely need to talk about it. I'm also going to talk about the opening ceremony of the Olympics, as well as, and this is, everyone sit down, because it's going to come as a shock, possibly a surprise to everyone involved. I'm going to have some nice things to say about AOC on the podcast today. I know it doesn't happen. We don't often find ourselves complimenting AOC or any member of the squad because typically they're terrible, but she did something good. So when people do something good, we like to talk about it. But first, before we even get to the before the but first, Winnie is going to say hi. Hello. Say hi, Winnie. No? Okay. Well, she didn't want to meow, but she's just sitting here hanging out, being loud and obnoxious. I had to let her up, sit in my lap, because she just sits there and just yowls like crazy when I come home from work, which I just did. So she's either going to make a lot of noise or she's going to sit here for a bit. Anyway, so first, we are going to talk about my favorite comment from last week, which comes from our friend Turpy93. And I'm going to shorten this comment a little bit because it's a little long, but here is basically the comment in a nutshell. It says, quote, Kamala Harris was on last night's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race reminding people to vote. Kamala talked about how the right to choose and love have come under attack and how we're not alone. Is it possible that it's not just that Kamala is black and a woman, but that she stands for those that feel under attack by conservative values and policies? End quote. Now, that is a great question. And my response, I gave a little bit response on YouTube, but I have a longer one here. There are going to be people who will vote for Kamala because she's a woman or because she's black, which is wrong. These are not good reasons to vote for that woman. And that was what I'm saying. That position that she is in, the only reason that she's in that position is because she possesses those characteristics. Joe Biden picked her because she's black, because she's a woman. He explicitly said that. So that's wrong. It's wrong to group people into identity groups like that or pick people for something. If I went around and picked people because they were men, because they were white, that would be bad. Everyone would agree that's bad. And we all should also agree it's bad to do it on the opposite end of the spectrum. I think there's a lot of people who view the Democratic Party as the party of compassion and the party of love and acceptance and tolerance. And they think of Republicans as this caricature of old white racists who don't like women and want to put them back in the kitchen. This is, in my opinion, a totally misguided misconception about the Republican Party. I don't view the Republican Party or the things that they believe in as that. But when I was on the progressive left, before I really understood more conservative values or actually read conservative arguments about conservative topics, I really had that same caricature in mind. I just thought all the arguments can be reduced to, well, they don't like black people, or they don't like women, or they don't like gays, or blah, 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 which is just not true. And so I think that the Republican Party has a perception issue. They have an idea issue, an image issue that needs to be addressed because their ideas are better. So yes, Kamala is going to, not everyone who votes for her is going to do it because she's black, because she's a woman, but they might do it because she goes on shows like RuPaul's Drag Race and panders. I think that that's also bad. I think it's bad to I don't think it's bad to get people to vote for you when they care about an issue. I think the people who watch RuPaul's Drag Race care about certain issues, but I think that this idea that everyone who disagrees with you hates you is not true, and it's not good to paint your opponents that way, which she does. She acts like Republicans are out there and all they do is walk around and they hate gay people. So when you go on RuPaul's Drag Race and you say things like love is under attack, where? Who? What are we talking about? This is nonsense. So, yeah, I think the question's a great point. Obviously, we speak in generality sometimes. So when I say people are going to vote for her because she's black or because she's a woman, that is true. People will do that, and that's bad. Those people are wrong. It's bad to do that. There are also people who are going to vote for her for other reasons. I think they're misguided, but that's just the way it is. So anyway, thank you for the comment. As always, we always appreciate comments, feedbacks, arguments, criticisms, compliments, anything you can think of. We like it all. Anyway, all right. So now let's get to today's first topic. I want to talk about this. This is the best. This is what this show was made for. This show was made to talk about things like white dudes for Kamala. What a bunch of losers. This was a star-studded is how it was described, Zoom call with more than 180,000 people who joined, and it managed to raise over $4 million. And this thing was just everything you imagine. I want you, actually, let's run a little thought experiment here. If you close your eyes right now and you imagine in your mind what a guy might look like who would want to participate in an event called White Dudes for Kamala. What does he look like when you close your eyes? Now, take that image in your head. Does that image look like the before picture of a testosterone boosting advertisement? Does it look like the guy before he got on testosterone? If that's what you got, that's a good start. Make it whiter, make it wimpier. That was what these guys look like on White Dudes for Kamala. It's exactly what you think of. Real beta male energy coming out of this event. Not great. There were some cool guys in there. You can't lie. There are some, guys who seem genuinely nice. Very nice people, probably a lot really misguided on their politics, but nice people who come from what we were just talking about when we were addressing the comment, where there's this idea that they have that the Republicans are mean and nasty, and they're coming from a place of empathy or compassion. Again, totally misguided in what their policy prescriptions are, but good guys. And I'm talking about people like the dude himself, Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges was on there. Jeff Bridges always came across, he always seems like a very nice guy. Every time he does interviews, at least, he seems nice. I don't know anything about him personally, but he has that perception that he is just a laid-back, very nice old hippie. Okay, that's cool. He's cool. He came to show his support. You had Sean Astin in there, Josh Gad. There's also a handful of governors who seemed like they were hoping to land a vice presidential nomination by their participation. But we were talking about guys like Sean Astin, too. Samwise Gamgee, the hero of Lord of the Rings, the real hero. He seems like a cool guy. He seems nice. Every time you listen to him talk, he never says, I don't hear him at least talking negatively about people. He's very much of the positivity politics, so he's not out there just slandering Republicans all the time. He comes from a place of compassion and love. Again, misguided on his policies, but a cool dude. Seems nice. All of these people during this 3-hour call had just numerous quotes that were problematic. I hate to use that word because the word is so coded with leftist language, but they were problematic, and they're hilarious. Some of them are hilarious, and they're worth talking about. For example, we have the event organizer himself, this Mr. Ross Morales Raqueto, I believe is how his last name is pronounced. This is a quote that he said during the event. Quote, "Throughout American history, when white men organized, it was often with pointy hats." End of quote. So the guy, basically, Mr. Raqueto, he was saying that this is the first time in history that the white men could actually organize for something good that's not the KKK, because everyone knows that whenever white men get together, it's often with pointy hats. This is, white men just get around to just be racist all the time. Forget about, I don't know, all the things that white men have managed to do for society, things like democracy. Things like founding the country that you live in. Things like forging unions, or the fact that it was actually white people who stomped out Nazism and communism throughout the globe. You know, according to White Men for Kamala, groups of white men are nothing but bad in history. And these are the first this is the first group of white men that's ever done anything positive, and they're doing it because every one of them wants to get up there and talk about their privilege. Oh my God, my privilege as a white man. I just need to shut up and let black women tell me what to do because white people are so bad. You're a fool, and the things you say are dumb. And but this idea, this is what these people are like. The white dudes for Kamala. You had 180,000 people in there probably nodding their head going, thoughtful commentary. This man and his jokes, but they're serious. They cut to the heart of the issue. When white people get together, it's so bad. We're all so bad. I'm going to go hit myself on the back with an old chain just to repent from my whiteness. That's what these people are. They're exactly that kind of person. And white people have done a lot of good. I think it's silly. I don't sit around and take credit for the accomplishments of white people because white people in general what credit do we deserve? Did I do anything? No, I didn't personally do any of that. To point out that white people did it doesn't give me a sense of pride. No, I don't care about white people. I don't care about whiteness. It has nothing to do with me because that's not how I think of myself. I don't walk around and think of myself as white first, which is where people would get pride. Like pride in ethnicity is bad. I don't care if you're black power or brown power or whatever. Pride in your ethnicity is a stupid trait to have. It's not good to walk around and be proud to be white or proud to be black. It's not an accomplishment. It's not a trophy. It's just a thing that's true. Do something for yourself. Be proud of that. Because it is true that one of the things that you get with nonsense like this, when you try to demonize groups of people, for example, if you walk around and you call all white people racist, if you want to get a coalition where you group together everyone by their identity, you group together black people and brown people and Hispanic people and Asian people and gay people, and you make all these little groups of people, well, what happens, it seems to be a bad thing when groups of white people get together. In the center of the group is the idea of being white. That does seem to be bad throughout history. That's things like Nazism, where what was the central tenet? The central tenet of Nazism was actually whiteness, and being white was a good thing. Now, that's bad. We don't like that. But what do you think white people will do when everyone else in the world wants to section off into a group? And then, let's just use a person like me, for example. Now, I'm not going to go out and join some white group because I think that's stupid and ignorant. But take a person like me. I know for a fact that I'm not racist. I know occasionally on the internet because of what I say about DEI or affirmative action, people have accused me of that. I'm not. I know I'm not. I do not care about anyone's race. I care about bad ideas. I don't like them. I like good ideas. I don't care who says them. That's why I love Jason Riley and Thomas Sowell and Clarence Thomas, who are black, and I dislike Gavin Newsom, who's white, because I don't care about their race. I care about their ideas. But you take a person like me, and then you sit around there, and you have everyone else section off into groups, and all you do to a group that I am de facto a member of, because I am white, I can't help it. I am going to be white forever. You say, well, we're going to take it out on white people because historical injustices, whatever the justification might be. Well, what happens? Then I have to be part of a group. You're forcing me to be part of a group because all of a sudden you're discriminating against me. And now I have to be part of a group. And there's going to be a section of people who hold no racial animosity in their mind, no prejudice, no bigotry, who then form their own group to fight back against that. And that's bad. We don't want giant groups of white people where the center of the group is the fact that they're white. White people in big groups, not scary. White people in big groups who want to go bowling or want to play golf or want to form a union or any of that, none of this is scary. What is scary is when you have giant groups of people based on their race. in the United States, that did happen in the past. That was the bad part about being white, where you can look back and say there was a giant group of people in the south of this country who the primary connection for them was the fact that they were white, because it allowed them to enslave an entire other race of people. That's bad. So what you're doing with this identity stuff is you're forcing white people to become a collective in a way that they're not. Right now, there's not a gigantic section of white people walking around in a group because they are white. It just doesn't exist. But the more you demonize white people, the bigger that group is going to wind up being, and that's when you're going to wind up with problems. That's what these people, these white dudes for Harris, the people who want to come out there and talk about whiteness. I have a book back there from Robin DiAngelo, White Fragility. I've got the Ibram X. Kendi, How to Be Anti-Racist. I've got Ta-Nehisi Coates. I've read these people. I know what they think. They have bad ideas. And that's what these white dudes for Kamala don't seem to understand, is that this is a bad path to go down. You do not want to form a group that is only held together because of the race. That's where you wind up with problems. We also have other groups, too, by the way, that are other quotes from this thing that are just as bad. We have Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. He wants to be vice president. He won't be vice president. Minnesota is not, it's not a state that's in play, so I don't see why Kamala Harris would pick this guy. Plus, he just looks so boring. Gosh, I got freaking, you see me rubbing my face on the video. I got, there's like a bunch of Winnie's cat hair just floating around right now. It's driving me nuts. So Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, this is a quote that he had in this group. Quote, "Don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness." End quote. Are we saying the quiet part out loud, Tim? Is that what we're doing? We're just going to talk actively about how, hey, socialism is just being friendly. It's just taking care of people. It's this old argument that socialism is really just about compassion. It's really just about taking care of those who can't take care of themselves. This sounds great. This tricks a lot of people with high school education because it sounds nice. And politics based on niceness seems like a good idea. It says, oh, wow, empathy is really how we should run public policy. It's a terrible idea because it's not empathy that makes things better for people. Empathy is good in a personal case. There's a book by Paul Bloom called The Case Against Empathy, and he basically says that on a one-on-one level, if I'm dealing with a spouse or a sibling or a parent, whatever the case may be, then it's good to be empathetic. This idea that we're going to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, we're going to try and understand their pain, we're going to do this. But empathy on a large scale from a policy prescription is a bad idea because often our empathy doesn't actually guide good policy that makes a difference. And we can point to an example of this just off the top of my head. There's an experiment done where, for example, if I ask somebody for $1, I say, hey, can I get $1 because there was a tsunami in wherever, and it killed 100,000 people. 100,000 people died, and we need $1 because we're going to rebuild the society that just crumbled. Well, people are not likely to give me $1 for this. But then if I say, hey, look at this picture I have of this little girl. Her name's Malia, and she was in a tsunami. And Malia's house got washed away, and she needs $1 because we're going to help rebuild her house and blah, blah, blah. Well, everyone is more likely to give me $1 because they are more empathetic to a single person. So if we guide our policy this way, because we play on people's empathy, because a person is easier to attach to than an idea, well, we often misallocate our resources to problems that are either not as big, but just more human, or just misguided in where that money goes. This is a very easy social experiment to run. The results are replicatable, which in social science is a very difficult thing to do. You take one person, you ask for money for one girl named Malia, people are more likely to give you money than if you introduce Malia and her brother. or if you introduce a neighborhood, or if you introduce a city. People are less likely to give the more abstract you get. But the more abstract you get often is where the difference is going to be made from a policy prescription in the government. So when Mr. Waltz, Governor Waltz, he wants to talk about socialism is just friendliness. Well, no, it's not. There's nothing friendly about any socialist country, because by necessity, to have a socialist economy, you are going to have to take money from some people and give it to other people. Now, this is where I very strongly believe in personal charity. I write checks to charity, to 2 charitable organizations a year at least. This is my goal that I set up for myself. I try and donate at least a couple times a year to different organizations. There's a couple that I really believe in that I try and give money to. I believe in charity. Charity is great. The idea that we're going to help people who are down on their luck that could use money, I am all for this. I think people should take care of each other. The idea, though, that socialism is the way to do that, where you are going to volunteer to take my money and give it to someone else. That is where the problem lies with socialism. That's not friendly. That's not nice. You're doing that under the threat of force, because every time you tax me, you have got to say, well, at the end of that is a gun. At the end of your taxation is a gun, because if I don't pay taxes, I go to jail. If I refuse to go to jail, some guy with a gun shows up and takes me to jail. That's where taxes are. Taxes are to be thought of as a gun pressed against you. So when you say, I'm going to tax you, what you're doing is saying, I'm threatening you. I am taking what's yours, and you're doing it by force. I believe in taxes for universal projects. I believe in taxes for things that the entire community needs, things like roads and bridges, schools, things like this. Taxes for these kind of deals. I do not believe in taxes for other people. I do not believe in taking money from somebody else and giving it to somebody else is a form of charity that you can consider yourself neighborly or friendly about. That's what these white dudes for Kamala are all about. They think that socialism is the answer. Socialism is not the answer. Socialism is violence. Socialism is always violence, because you are taking from the haves and giving to the have-nots, but you're not doing it yourself. That's the thing that they don't understand. If you want to give money to charity, if you want to go help people, you are more than welcome to do it. But you don't get to call yourself charitable while you volunteer other people to do it for you. That's all. That's how that works. Redistributionism is evil. Identity groups are evil. These are bad things. We don't want to play this game. And these people, these white dudes for Kamala, they don't understand this. Anyway, we're going to get off that. These guys are, again, some of them seem nice, but that just misguided and so cringy. Just the idea. If you could see the giant picture of 180,000 of these people, pasty, white, wimpy, low T having guys. That's all they look like. Anyway, we're going to move on. We're actually going to talk about the opposite of that, because we're going to talk about the Olympics right now. The opening ceremony controversy, and I love the Olympics. I love the Olympics. I think it's great. I think it's great to have a competition. I think it's bullshit that countries are barred from the Olympics. I think it's crazy that countries boycott the Olympics. I am so anti this. I understand there are problems. I understand there are things that countries have done wrong. And yes, Russia is a certain exception because they cheat, and you can't have a bunch of cheaters in the Olympics. I get that. I get why they're not there. But it is a shame, because they do send some great athletes, even though they cheat a lot. And so anyway, I love the Olympics. I love competition. I love the idea that we're going to find the best in the world. But we're going to talk about the opening ceremony controversy. So this is Paris. All right, what do we know about Paris? Paris is gay. All right, that's just a way to say it. I don't know what you want me to say. That's what they're known for. Gay Paris. Or it's a thing. They just are very arty. They're very flamboyant, the Parisians. And so the opening ceremonies was that, and that's fine. I don't care. Whatever. But they made a big mistake, because there was a pushback, a blowback from a lot of Christians, because this opening ceremony, it did a number of things that They had a lot of drag queens. They had a lot of guys dressed up like women. They were doing a lot of things. And at one point, there was a scene where a bunch of drag queens basically sat around a table and seemed to look like the Last Supper. And there was a controversy about this because a lot of people felt they were mocking Christianity. Now, I'm going to just say they were doing that. It may not have been as explicit in the minds of the people who set the show up, but that's what they were doing. They were making a statement using the Last Supper with a bunch of men dressed as women as a shot at Christians. The idea being, this is how it should be. We're all so tolerant that drag queens can be at the Last Supper. Now, they said that this was not inspired by the Last Supper. This is obviously nonsense. You can say whatever you want. This is not true. And I'm going to go over exactly why here in just a moment. Here, let's pull this up first. Boop, boop, boom. Okay. So here is an actual still from the Olympics on top here. What you see is a bunch of people seated on the other side of a table. Here is a picture of the Last Supper. Okay? So this guy right here, the black dude in a white suit over here, at one point he actually puts his arms almost exactly like this guy. I wish I could find the still. I actually had a hard time trying to find the video of this, but it was pretty funny. It's very obvious that this is at least partly inspired by this picture. You cannot tell me it's not. You're not going to convince me that it's not. It just looks too similar to have been done by accident. It actually looks, for a second, it looks like this person right here actually looks like this guy right here. So just on the opposite side. Look at the arms. Look at the arms. So you're not going to tell me it's not. So I want to just go over it. Some people said it's not. Oh, it was inspired by something else, which we'll go over in just a second. But look, let's look at this first. So just pulling up the Last Supper. The reason I want to point this out, most people know it was painted by Da Vinci. But the year is important here. Look at the year it was made. 1495, 1498. It was obviously done in Italy, where I think Da Vinci made just about all of his artwork was in Italy. But it is one of the most famous paintings from the Renaissance. So, but look at the year, 1495, 1498. So the painting initially that they said, oh, no, it's not the Last Supper. It's not mocking Christianity. What we're doing is it's an homage to this painting right here. I don't know. I guess the translation from Dutch is the Feast of the Gods. This is the painting that really it was inspired by. So if you see, it's got a bunch of people seated on the other side of a table too. Obviously, there's people in the foreground here because you got this guy drinking some grapes and this little half goat man dancing here. And so right away you say, well, does that look like this? Does that look like this picture right here? Where are the people in the foreground? If it's inspired by this painting, where's this little centaur looking guy? Where's this guy drinking the grapes? Where's any of those people? Where is this Roman or soldier looking guy? I guess he would probably be a Roman if it's not Jesus, so maybe not. But does it look like that? Does it look like that to anyone else? No. But also, wait, isn't this painting? Let's do some digging here. So this painting was created in 1635. So 140 years after this painting by Da Vinci. Okay, so it came later. Well, okay, that doesn't matter. It doesn't mean necessarily it was inspired by the Last Supper. Oh, except that it was painted by this guy, Jean van Bijert. Oof, don't know if that's how you pronounce that name, but yeah, Jean van Bijert. He's a Dutch painter. Well, what about him? What's his history look like? Oh, okay, so yeah. Oh, shoot, you mean that before he painted this picture in 1635, he spent years traveling in Italy, learning about the High Renaissance? So what do you think the odds are that this painting right here is actually inspired by this painting right here? What do you think that this guy who painted this painting, who spent time in Italy 100 years after and studied the High Renaissance in Italy, where one of the most famous paintings, The Last Supper, was hung for the 100 years before that? What do you think the odds are that this painter painted this portrait to look like this, and now you want to come here and you want to tell me that this is in no way a commentary on this? What do you think the odds are that you're wrong or lying? I think they're pretty good. the spokesperson for the Olympic ceremonies came out. This person named Anne DeCamp said, quote, clearly, there was never an intention to show disrespect to any religious group. On the contrary, I think that artistic director Thomas Jolly really tried to celebrate community tolerance. We believe that this ambition was achieved. If any people have taken offense, we are really sorry. End quote. Does that sound like an apology? Oh, so clearly there was never an intention to... Is it clear? Is it clear there was never any intention to show disrespect? Because it seemed like there was, and a lot of people seem to think that way. Some people even pulled their advertising from the Olympics over this. Do you think that they're just trying to celebrate tolerance? Well, is it not a commentary on the quote-unquote bigotry of religion that you're trying to do by putting a bunch of drag queens up there to mock the Last Supper? That wouldn't be the thing that's promoting tolerance? What do you think? I think they're obviously lying. That's why they said, oh, no, it's just an other painting. It's not the Last Supper. It's this other painting we were clearly doing. Now, the fact that the Last Supper is probably one of the most famous paintings in the world, and it looked almost exactly like that, don't believe your lying eyes. Listen to my lying words. We're just telling you what you want to hear, which is that, no, we love Christians. The fact that we put on a bunch of drag queens and some weirdo blue god of wine, Bacchus, the fact that we put him up there, it's not a mockery of the faith. That's crazy. We're just celebrating paganism as if that's any better. It's silly. And no one believes it. No one believes them. But that's the thing. You would never see these people. You would never see the artistic director of the opening games do this about Islam. Why? Because they know Christians aren't going to kill them. Christians will get mad. They're going to complain, and they might not watch the Olympics, and they might do all this stuff, but they're not going to kill them. Whereas we know that in France in particular, Charlie Hebdo was a thing. Oh, you made a cartoon that made fun of the Prophet Muhammad, and then what happened? A bunch of people were murdered in a building because of a cartoon. So you're not going to do this about Muslims. What makes you think you can do it about Christians? Why is it okay? It's the same thing we were just talking about with White Dudes for Harris. Why is it that you think it's okay that you can mock white people and there's not going to be any backlash? Do you think it's okay to mock Christians and there shouldn't be a backlash? Why is Christianity the only religion you can mock? Why are white people the only people you can discriminate against? These are not good things. You want to promote tolerance and acceptance? Well, how about you start by promoting tolerance against the people that you're making fun of, that you're making a mockery of their faith? How about that? How about we start there first? Wouldn't that be nice? But people don't see it that way because Christians are the problem, you see. That's why. Christians are the problem. Christians are the bigots. They're the ones who don't like gay people or drag queens or whatever they don't like today. And, the fact that Muslims also don't like this that's not the concern. We're not going to talk about that. But we could talk about it because Christians are bad. Oh, okay. All right. I see how it is. But I guess we just cannot be surprised when there's backlash to this nonsense. That is just the way it's going to be. There's going to be backlash. So I don't know what these people are thinking. I never do. I have a hard time. God dang. I swear, I guess because it's hot. The cat hair is just extra today. It's just floating all around me. I feel like I'm in a wind tunnel. All right, last topic for the day. We're going to make this kind of quick because we're running out of time. Now, again, I told you in the beginning, this is going to be something different. We don't do this very often. I'm about to compliment Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm about to do it. She did something good. Good for her. I am a big supporter of this. There was a bill that she put out this past week, and it basically is going to call for a ban on deepfake pornography. This is a good thing. We're going to actually, here we go. Let's give it a little. I don't know if you hear it. It's a golf clap. Actually, I think one of these buttons does that. Hold on. Let me see. I got all these buttons. I don't remember what they do. Give me 1 sec. Okay. All right. I don't remember which one of these. One of those is like a clapping thing. I should probably label them. It'd be a good idea. So I got all these little buttons over here. Let's see actually what this does. I think this one's like a drums. Nope. Oh, there it is. There it is. There's the clap. This is for AOC. Standing ovation. Good job. Let's give her one more. Woo, yeah. Oh, good job, AOC. So this is a great idea. Everyone knows I like freedom of speech. This, to me, is not that. Deepfake pornography, this AI-generated pornography, which, if you don't know what it is, basically you say, I don't know, put so-and-so's face on a body or make a computer-generated image that looks real of so-and-so. This, to me, is not a free speech issue. It's not. I don't think there's anything that entitles you to have access to someone else's nude body, even if it's fake. In fake in a way that looks realistic. I'm not talking about an artist rendering where it's obviously a painting or a paint colored pencils or whatever the hell you're using. I'm talking about this stuff that looks real, that you could pass off as a real photo of somebody or a real fake video of somebody. This is disgusting stuff that we shouldn't be doing. So good on AOC to put this forward. And it was actually a bipartisan bill. It was co-led by Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham. It got endorsements from 25 organizations and is a real bipartisan effort in Congress to highlight this area that needs regulation. And here's an actual quote from the piece itself. It says, quote, victims of non-consensual pornographic deepfakes have waited too long for federal legislation to hold perpetrators accountable. As deepfakes become easier to access and create, 96% of deepfake videos circulating online are non-consensual pornography. Congress needs to act to show victims that they won't be left behind, end quote. I'm all for this. I really am. I think it's a good idea. This is not a free speech issue. You do not get to slander people in this way. I guess slander is probably a good word. It's the idea that you're entitled to see somebody else's naked body and that you're going to use AI to generate it is disgusting. I think pornography in general is probably bad for society. I used to not think this. I've kind of come around on my thinking about this based on a couple of different factors we don't need to get into right now, but it just, and this is the new level. Because the thing that has been pointed out, I believe Andrew Clavin has said this numerous times. It's not that Taylor Swift is going to have a deepfake video of her. All right, Taylor Swift is a celebrity. She's out there. There's going to be a lot of weirdos out there. She put herself in the public eye. It's not good, but she's a public person. People are going to have opinions. People are going to say mean things. People are going to be nasty. It's just part of being in public. The problem with this really is it's also going to happen to the girl in your math class. It's also going to happen to the mother of your friend next door. These people who aren't that, who just live their life like a private citizen, who are not in the public eye, but because it's so easy to do, they're going to wind up victims of this where there's going to be nude photographs of them on the internet that they never had anything to do with, that are not real but look real, and probably, with the way AI works, look so real that they're going to be close to the real thing. And it's bad. It's disgusting. It's not good. And we need to probably stop this. So I'm all for it. AOC, good on you. Good on Dick Durbin, which again we don't say very often, and Lindsey Graham. Congratulations on doing something good. It's a small thing, but it's nice when Congress actually tackles an issue that is important. This is an important issue. It doesn't seem like it is. It's not as important as the economy or what's going on in Israel or Ukraine or what we're going to do because Saudi Arabia is going to sell oil in other currencies besides the dollar. It's not as important as these things. But this is an important issue nonetheless. And it's good that they're addressing it. So good on AOC. And on that weird, strange note, we're going to leave it there for the week. As always, likes, comments, share, whatever, questions, concerns, compliments, and criticisms. We're here for it all. And I will catch you guys next Friday. I hope you have a great week.